Hello and welcome to my channel, Distinctive Crochet. My name is Priscilla and today we're going to be talking about my summer top that I am doing a tutorial for. So I just wanted to go over really quickly a little bit about the construction of this top so that you will know exactly what you're doing as you follow along in the tutorial, because this is not exactly a stitch by stitch tutorial. This is just pretty much giving you the basics of what I did so you could replicate this top if you would like to. But there may be times that you might have to make decisions and just kind of do things on your own just to make sure that you get the right fit for you. So like I said, this is just to give you an idea. So for the back panel, which I'm showing you right here, all I did was work a foundation row of foundation double crochets, and then I just went back and forth. Well, I went down to get the length that I wanted, and then I just went back and forth in rows to get the width of it. And then after I worked the entire back, I did an edging of single crochet all the way around, just so it would make it easier for me to work into, and also just to give it a finish around the edging. So I'm going to pause here and then I'm going to turn this mannequin around to the front so you guys can see the front, and then I'll show you what I did next. Alright. Okay, so the next thing I did was I connected, or I made a chain for this actually, I'm sorry, the next thing I did was space out an opening, this opening right here. So this is going to allow it to fit over your head, of course. So I measured out that opening there, and then once I had that measured out, then I started to work on this part here, which is like the little strap, and it helps to bring it over to the front. So I just did some I made a chain, and then I did some slip stitching back and forth like that to get that sleeve or that strap. And then what I did was I made a chain all the way across, and then I put like a stitch marker here, and then I made the chain for this part, and then I did the same thing on the other side. And I just worked that until I got to my stitch marker that was from the opening here, and then the stitch marker here, and then I worked out to the edge of that. So you'll understand a little bit more about that when I get into the tutorial. But I think the combination of the explaining how I did this and the tutorial will help you get a better idea. So once I did that, the next thing I did was I worked back and forth in these rows right here, and I also, actually I should say, I also made a chain going down, and I measured for my armhole depth. So the top of the sleeve here to the bottom of the sleeve here is your armhole depth. So if you're not sure what yours is, just grab a t-shirt that you have or a shirt that fits your arms properly and measure from that down to this seam here, and then that will give you the measurement that you will need when I'm talking about armhole depth. So I measured that down and put a stitch marker, and then I made chain according to what I needed. And then after I had the straps made, then I went down and chained for those parts, and then I crochet all the way across, and then went back and forth in rows like that. But I did do some decreases in here just so that this top will lay flat. And then once I got all the decreases done and it was laying nice and flat, then I decided to go ahead and work up and down in rows like that. So I came over to the side and I connected the back to the front by just working some double crochets right into the back edge of it, and then I went all the way down to the bottom, and then I just worked up and down like that. So that is pretty much what I did. And once I got it all the way to the other side, then I just seamed it up on the other side and I did that with like a slip stitch seam, so that it just gave it a nice braided look. So let me show you. So this is like the only seam that you have. If you even wanted to call it a seam, I could just say I joined it to the other side. But yeah, so this piece is pretty much worked all in one. It's just you're doing a lot of different twists and turns as you go. So that is why I'm saying you might have to work something out that works for you when you're doing this top, because it's just kind of it was really fun to make and I really enjoyed doing it, but it's kind of hard to write it up as a pattern. So that is why I did it as a tutorial, so that you guys could see exactly what I was doing and make one of this beautiful top for yourself. So there it is. Okay, so I hope you will check out this tutorial and make one for yourself, and please let me know in the comments down below what you think. And now I'm going to go ahead and take you into the materials that you will need, and also the tutorial. But since this is sort of just showing you how I'm doing it, you don't necessarily have to have the exact same materials. You could use a thicker weight yarn. This is a number 3 that I'm using. You could use a thicker weight if you would like, and just because you're just going to make it as long as you need and as wide as you need. So once you measure it and get the height and width that you need, then you should be fine. You get everything else will work out. All right, so let me go ahead and take you to the materials that I use and then into the tutorial. For this tutorial, you will need number 3 lightweight yarn. You will also need 5 stitch markers, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, and a 5mm hook. You may also need one more hook size up, but it's not necessary. All right, let's get into the tutorial. All right, everyone, to get started with this tutorial, we're just going to go ahead and make a slip knot, and then we will work some foundation double crochets, and this is going to be for the length of our top. So you're just going to keep going until you have the desired length. So if you like your tops a little bit shorter, that's fine. If you like them a little longer, then go ahead and do that. So as soon as you hit that length that you desire, then we can go ahead and move to the next step. So I'll come back and show you what to do then. So I'll go ahead and do a couple with you to get you started, but I'll link down below a tutorial in more detail to how to do the foundation double crochets if you have never done before. All right, so we're going to chain up 3, and then we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into this back bump right here of that very first chain. So we're just going to go right in there, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through that first loop to make a chain. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So let's do one more together. And if you need more help, go ahead and check out the tutorial. Alright, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to insert our hook into those bottom 2 loops of that chain we just made. So make sure you go into both loops. Alright, there they are. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through that loop to make a chain. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Alright, so that is how you make the foundation double crochets. So I'm just going to continue on until I get the length that I desire for my top, and then I'll be right back to show you what to do next. Alright, and I made it back. So I have finished working my foundation double crochets until I got my desired length. So it's going to actually be going vertical, because it's going to be the length of our top. And I measured mine to be about 26 inches. So that'll be the length of my top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and work back and forth in rows until I get the width that I need. So we've already worked the length. Now we're just going to go back and forth in rows until we get the width of the top that we need. All right. So this will be our back panel. So however you do your turning chain, you can do chain 2 or chain 3. We're going to be going back and forth in double crochets until we get the width that we need for our top. Alright, so the width that you need will be half the measurement of your bust size plus a couple inches for ease. So I'm working a 38 bust, so I'm gonna keep going until I get to about 20 inches, and that'll give me the size that I need. Alright, I'll show you what to do next. Alright everyone, and I made it back. So I did 42 rows to get the width that I need, and I did about 90 stitches in length, which gave me about 26 inches. So it's actually going to be like this, and then I have the 42 rows going across, which is my width. And like I said, you want your width to be half of your bust plus a couple inches for ease. So I'm doing a size 38, so I'm gonna do 20 inches across, and that way I have a couple extra inches for ease. So I just finished that row, so I'm just gonna chain 1, and now I'm gonna go ahead and work a single crochet into each of these double crochet stitches all the way around. So when I get to the corner, I'm just gonna go ahead and put 3 single crochets into the corner, and then when I get onto the bottom edge, you just want to go ahead and work 3 single crochets for every 2 double crochets, or just as evenly as you can all the way across the bottom. And then you're going to go back up the side and then over across the top again. Alright, so once you have all of that done, go ahead and come back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I made it back. So I've done my single crochet border all the way around. So I'm coming up on my last one here. So this is going from single crochet up to double crochet. So in this last stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a single crochet, a half double crochet, and then I'm going to do a double crochet, and that should bring me evenly up to this next side here. And then so there, it matches up really nice. So now I just need to go ahead and slip stitch to join into that first stitch. Alright, so that's how I finished off on that corner there. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is we're going to go ahead and mark off for where we put our head or neck area. So I'm measuring mine so that I can get the center 10 inches, and that should fit like a 20 to 21.5 inch circumference head. So if your head is a little bit bigger than that, you might have to adjust. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 5.5 inches in from the side edge, and put a stitch marker there. So right about here at 5.5, I'm just going to go ahead and put a stitch marker. Just like that. Okay, so now I need to do the same thing for the other side. So I'm just going to put the 5.5 inch mark at the edge, and then grab another stitch marker, and then I'll go ahead and mark that stitch there. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to measure in the middle of those stitch markers to make sure I have this inches that I need, the 10 inches. So I got mine, but if you didn't get the size that you need, then go ahead and make adjustments and move the stitch markers evenly on each side until you get that measurement that you need for your head size. So this is good for like a 20-21 inch head, but if you need a little bit bigger, if you're like a 23 inch, then you can do 11 and a half. And then that should get you what you need. So you would just measure from the edge what you need, so that when you measure in between the stitch markers, you have 11 and a half, or whatever size it is that you need to fit your head, to make sure it goes over your head. Okay, so go ahead and mark yours, and then I will meet you back. All right, so this is the right side of the stitches, or the stitches that I want to be seen, and this is the underside or the wrong side, and these are the ones that I don't want to be seen. So we're going to be working our straps to go over this way. So I'm going to make sure that the side that I want to be seen is down and laying flat against the table, and that way this will become the inside of the back of the top, and then this is what people will see on the outside, if that makes sense. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and chain up 16 stitches, and you want to do them kind of loose. That way it'll make them easier to work back into when you have to turn and go back into them. So just do it nice and loose and not too tight. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work into the back bumps of the chain. Okay? Whoops, let me get this in focus. Alright, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip that first one, and we're going to work into the second one here. So we're just going to put a slip stitch right in there, and you want to also do these slip stitches very loose, like I said, so that you can work back into them on the next row. So just make sure you're doing it nice and relaxed, or kind of loose. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch, and then I'll meet you back. So just keep going all the way in the back bumps, all the way across, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it back, and I finished doing the slip stitches all the way down, and I'm back to the top of my back area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work into the next 2 stitches, and I'm just going to put a single crochet right in there, and this is going to join it to the back of our top. So now we need to turn, and then we're going to skip those 2 single crochets that we just made, and we're going to work in the back loop only of those slip stitches. Alright, so skip those single crochets and then work loosely into the back loop only of those 15 slip stitches. And you do want to make sure you have 15. I would recommend you count as you go, unless you're used to this technique, because you can easily lose or add a stitch. Alright, so just keep going all the way down, and just try to be nice and consistent with your slip stitch tension, so that it's not too tight. Otherwise it's going to be really hard to work back into. Okay, I'll meet you back. Alright, so I made it back. So go ahead and give it a count, and make sure that you have 15 if you haven't already. And now we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. And we're not going to work into our chain 1, we're just going to work into the very next stitch. So we just going to go ahead and work in the back loop only of these slip stitches here. And just go ahead and keep a good count on it, and make sure you have your 15. Alright, so I'll meet you back when I have it all the way up. Okay, so I made it back up. So now we're going to go ahead and work into the next 2 stitches. We're going to put a single crochet, and like I said, this joins it to the back of the top. So now we're going to turn and we're going to repeat those 2 rows. So we're going to work down in the back loop only. We'll chain 1 and turn. We'll go back up in the back loop only, and then we'll single crochet into the next 2 stitches. We'll turn, we'll skip those 2 single crochets, and then slip stitch into the back loop only of those 15 stitches. Okay, so just repeat those 2 rows all the way across until you get to your stitch marker, and that way you'll have your whole sleeve or strap worked across. All right, so keep going, and then I'll meet you back when I have mine. Okay everyone, so I made it back, and this is what it's looking like so far. So I had 2 stitches and I left and I went down to the bottom, and then I still have like this 1 stitch left, but you might have to make a decision because you want to make sure you end off at the bottom. So if you need to go a stitch more or a stitch less, then go ahead and make that adjustment, just to make sure that you end off at the bottom. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to count how many stitches I have in between my 2 stitch markers. Alright, so I have about 30 stitches here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 30. So whatever your stitch count is in between your stitch markers, go ahead and chain up that amount. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 30 for mine. And you also want to do this loose because this is going to finish creating that hole for your head. Alright, so I have my 30 to go across. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a stitch marker, and then I'm going to mark that last chain. So go ahead and mark the last chain that you made with the stitch marker. And now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and chain up an additional 16. So, and you want to do these loose also. Okay, so once you have your 16 stitches, go ahead and work a single crochet right into the marked stitch that you have. And then also you want to work another single crochet into the next stitch. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn, and then we're going to go ahead and work in those back bumps of that chain we just made, and we're going to work down 15 of those. So again, you want to do these nice and loose so that you'll be able to work back into the stitches easily. So you can just either work right into that back bump or just the back loop. It's fine. So you want to do it nice and loose. And just go down 15 of those stitches and just work a slip stitch all the way down until you get to the 15th stitch. Nice and loose. All right. Okay, that should be 15, so let me go ahead and count to make sure. All right, so I have my 15, so now I'm going to do is go ahead and turn my work around and chain 1, and now I'm going to go ahead and work in this back loops only and work a slip stitch nice and loose all the way up. And then we'll keep working like we did the other side, so we'll need to go ahead and single crochet 2 to join it to the back, and then we'll skip those 2 single crochet and come back down again. So when I get up here, I'm just going to single crochet into the next 2 and then go back down, back and forth, just like we did on the other side, all the way until you get to the corner. All right, so go ahead and work on that and I'll meet you back. All right, so I made it back. When I came back up, I just had 1 stitch left, so I just put 1 single crochet, and then I'm just going to turn and skip that 1 stitch instead of 2. All right. So I just wanted to let you know in case you came to the same problem or same situation when you were working yours. So I'm just going to go ahead and work it down and make sure you end off at the bottom, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. All right, and I made it back. So this is the top, and I have it like position upside down, but this is just to show you what it would look like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work single crochets evenly across and in the back bumps across the chain, and then when I get all the way across, I'll show you what to do next. All right, so just work single crochet evenly across the slip stitches and in the back bumps of the chain. All right, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it back, and now I have the top flip the other way around. So I worked evenly over there, and then I counted the stitches. So however many you have on one strap, go ahead and put the same amount on the other one. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and measure for our armhole depth. So what you could do if you're not sure what that is, just grab a shirt that you wear that fits comfortably around your arms, and then go ahead and measure the sleeves where it is from the shoulder down to the end of the sleeve, and that is the same measurement that you'll use for this here. So I'm going to go ahead and measure mine, and I'm probably going to use about 9 or 9.5 inches for me. Since this is a tank top, I do want it to fit a little bit closer. So I'm just going to take it from the top of the shoulder down, and I think about 9 inches would be good. So I'm just going to grab a stitch marker and go ahead and mark at 9 inches, and then you want to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead to the other side and do the same thing. Grab my stitch marker and mark it. Alright. I just want to, after I mark it, I'm just going to see and make sure it's even with the other one. And then I'll adjust it if I need to. So just go ahead and check and make sure yours is even with the other side. Yeah, I think I better move mine up just a little bit and check it again and see if that's better. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Actually, I think I'll move it up a couple more. Okay, yep, that's about right. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and loosely work a chain until we get down to our stitch marker. I'm going to count my stitches to give me an idea about how many that is that I need. But once we have that done, we're going to work double crochets across, and then when we get to the other side, we'll have to do some foundation double crochets, and that way it'll give us a nice even row. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and work the chains loosely, but I'm going to count the stitches here to give me an idea about how many I should chain. Okay, so I'm gonna do about 20 chains, and I just counted from that stitch marker up to where the strap would lay to give me an idea about how many I would need. Okay. So I'm just checking to see if that looks about right. So that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch to join right where my stitch marker is. And then I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch right into the next stitch also. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn, and I'm going to skip those 2 slip stitches, and then we'll work a double crochet right into that first chain. So we're just going to yarn over and go into the back bump of that first chain and work a double crochet, and then we'll work double crochets in the back bumps of each of these chains across. And I like to work in the back bumps because it leaves this nice edge around your arm. So I'm just going to go ahead and work the double crochets in the back bumps all the way across, and when we get here I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so I put my double crochets in each of the chains across, and I have one last chain to go. So what I want to do is work a decrease right here. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch before finishing off and do the same thing, and then one more. So I did this across 3 stitches, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all the loops, and that just turned 3 stitches into 1. So now I'm just going to go ahead and double crochet across the strap here. And then when we get towards the end, we're going to work another decrease. So we'll be turning 3 stitches into 1. Alright, so I just have about 2 stitches left, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do a decrease over the next 3 stitches. So it's 2 on this strap and then 1 on the chain. Alright, so let me show you what that looks like. Alright, so I'm not giving out a stitch count, but when you get to this area here and this area here, you're going to want to do some decreases. and that'll just help to smooth out this curve right here. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you just need to double crochet across and then do your decreases in those same areas. So once you get to the end here, we're going to be doing foundation double crochets to meet to the other side, and then I'll show you what to do when you get to that area. Alright, so I made it back, and I'm just going to decrease these two here just to keep it even from what we did on the other side. And then when I do my foundation double crochets, I'm just going to work one less. So I had 20 foundation double crochets on that other side, so I'm just going to do 19 on this side. So whatever it was for yours, just go ahead and do one less. Alright, so we have our hook under our two loops. We pulled up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through to make a chain. We're going to yarn over and pull through two, and yarn over and pull through two. Alright, so just keep following those same steps to make your foundation double crochets, and then just remember to make one less than you did on the other side. And then when you get finished with that, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I made it back, and I have my 19 foundation double crochets. So now I just need to slip stitch to join where my stitch marker is. Alright, and then I'm also going to go ahead and slip stitch to join in the next two stitches. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and turn, and then we're going to skip those two slip stitches, and then we're going to work right into our double crochet stitches. Alright, so yarn over and go ahead and insert your hook and work that double crochet all the way back up. And then remember to go ahead and decrease in those same places that I showed you before. And it might be different for everyone. You might feel like you need to decrease every row or maybe every other row, but you really just want it to lay flat in those curved areas. So if you don't want to decrease in the same spot every time, you could just move it slightly over a stitch before or a stitch after, and then that way the decreases will be staggered however you prefer to do it. It's really up to you, but you just really want to make sure it lays flat. Alright, so I'm just gonna keep working mine all the way up. Okay, so I made it back up, and now I'm gonna go ahead and work my decrease. So I'm working this over 3 stitches, so I'm taking 3 stitches and turning it into 1 stitch. Okay, and I'm just gonna go back across, and then when I get to the other side, I'll go ahead and work another decrease. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and work a decrease. Oops, actually let me go ahead and start my decrease on this one, and then I'll have that one in the middle and then this one here. Alright, okay, so this is what it looks like so far. and that way it just keeps it laying flat. All right, so you're just gonna keep working like that in that same manner, and then remember to work your decreases here. And when you come over on this side, remember to slip stitch over two to join it on the side, and then you're gonna turn and skip those slip stitches and work back. All right, so go ahead and work that for about 4 rows, and then I will meet you back when I have mine. All right, so I made it back after working 4 rows. Mine is looking really nice and smooth. So if you feel like you need to work a few more rows for yours, then go ahead and do so. But I just worked 4 rows for mine. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and start working in the up and down or vertical direction, or so that my stitches look that way when the top is on. So I worked my last stitch and I'm on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find where my next stitch is, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a double crochet in that stitch and in each stitch all the way down. So this is working right alongside the top, the side of the back panel, and this is connecting it, and then we'll begin working our rows from there. So just go ahead and work your rows all the way down, or work the row all the way down, and then I'll meet you back and show you what to do next. So I just wanted to show you this really quick again. What made me decide to go ahead and start working in the other direction was that I have it edges are all smooth and they're flattened out. So it just took me 4 rows to get to mine like that. But if you think you need a few more rows, then just go ahead and do your rows. All right, I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it back and I made it all the way down to the bottom. So now I'm just going to chain up 2 and turn, and I'm going to put a double crochet right into that same stitch, and in each stitch across, working back up. So when I get back up to here, I'll show you how to join it, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it back and I'm all the way up here. Oops, let me straighten this out a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do now to join is I'm going to skip these 2 stitches here. So, and then I'm going to single crochet to join it. So you just want to lay it over and match it up, and see that double crochet takes about 2 stitches. So I'm going to go into that next stitch and I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches over, because I need to turn and work the row back down. So I single crochet in that one, and I'm going to single crochet in this one as well, and then all I'm going to do is go ahead and turn. So I'm just going to skip these 2 single crochets that I just made, and then I'm just going to go ahead and double crochet right into that first double crochet there. So skip those 2 single crochets and then work into the double crochet stitches. All right, and you just keep following those same steps all the way down, back and forth in rows until you get to the other side. And when we get there, I'll show you what to do next. All right, everyone, for this section right here, those 2 that you skip will actually make a stitch when you come back on the return row. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. All right, everyone. So this is right here where I'm talking about. So if you look really close at this stitch right here, it's not actually a stitch. It's from those two skip stitches. But as you're working and increasing, you want to go ahead and work that as a stitch. But when you get to the decrease section, you will actually skip that stitch. Okay, and I'm going to post a picture so that it'll make it easier for you guys to see what I'm talking about. All right. Other than that, just keeping working back and forth in rows as I was showing you and joining to the top as I was showing you before. And I will meet you back when I get to the other side. All right, and then I made it back. So I'm right here on the side where it's starting to decrease a little bit. So what you're going to do now is you're just going to go ahead and count how many stitches you have on the side that you're working, as well as the side that you have on the side of the back panel. And then you're going to figure out how many you need to decrease. So I have 58 on the side that I'm working, and I have 53 on my back panel. So that means I need to decrease 5 stitches. All right, so we're just going to pretty much continue on in the same way that we were. And we're just going to make sure that when you turn, you're going to work into the double crochets only. And then I'll also do a decrease, like a double crochet 2 together. And then I'll do that maybe every other row or every row, depending on how many I have left. And then I'll decrease it till I have those 5 stitches decreased, and then I'll be able to join it to the back. All right, so I'm just going to continue working my, and then I'll just do a double crochet 2 together to decrease it, probably every row that I get back up to the top. All right, so I'll meet you back when I have mine done. All right, and I made it back. So I just have this one more stitch to go, and then I'm going to be ready to join these 2 sides together. So I'm just going to do a single crochet right there, and now I'm ready to join the front to the back. So this is my first stitch on the back panel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to slip stitch each side by grabbing the back loop or the outside loop. Oops, let me go behind my yarn. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up the outside loop on that side and the outside loop on this side, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So it's pretty much a slip stitch, and it gives a braided look, so I really like this. But you definitely want to do it loose. So if you feel like you're going too tight, you could go up a hook size, and that way it won't pull too tight on you. All right, so you could do it in the same way that I am, or you could cut your yarn and fasten off, and then you can just sew it like that with a yarn needle. But I'm just choosing to go ahead and crochet mine together. So I'm just going through the outer loops on each side, yarn over and pull through to make a slip stitch. And as you can see here, it gives it a really pretty braided edge on the side. Okay, so I'm just going through the outside loops on both panels, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue in the same manner all the way down, and then when I get down, I'll go ahead and fasten off. And then once you get all that finished, all you have to do is weave in all of your ends, and your top is completely done. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and your beautiful top. So thank you so much for crocheting along with me, and please leave it in the comments down below what you think, and thank you again so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one.